Hello. Hmm. What should I talk about? I'm a math tutor. In Korea, we call it a suhag gwawe seonsengnim. First, there is something you need to know. The way people think about teachers is a little different in the West and in Korea. In East Asian countries such as China, Korea, and Japan, a seonsengnim is traditionally considered a very important and respected person. Fathers and parents are treated with great respect, and teachers are also treated with great respect. There is a culture of respecting older people, and if someone is your susung, that person is naturally considered extremely important. We even have a day called Susungye Nal. Just as we have Labor Day and Independence Day, we also have Susungye Nal. The word susung is a little different from the English word teacher. A teacher is simply someone who teaches you, but a susung is more like, how should I put it? Someone you cannot treat casually or disrespectfully. That is the kind of feeling the word has. You can think of a martial arts master in an East Asian martial arts movie, maybe something like a kung fu master. That is probably the closest example. Anyway, when I go to teach my students, well, things are very different these days. In the past, the difference between a teacher and a student was almost like the difference between heaven and earth. But these days, students joke around with their teachers and sometimes act cheeky toward them. One of the problems people talk about in Korea today is called Gyogwan Kurag. What does Gyogwan mean? How should I explain it? It means something like the authority and rights of teachers. That authority has become much weaker in Korea. What does that actually mean? Teachers are often put under a lot of pressure by students' parents. Parents complain about all kinds of things. They might say, "Why did you do that to my child?" Or, "How could you treat my child like that?" At school, teachers sometimes need to scold students. Teachers need to control the classroom and manage the students, right? But if a student feels even slightly embarrassed or upset, the parents may complain to the teacher. I don't know. Parents make complaints about all kinds of things, saying, "How could you do that to my child?" Korea also has very high moral standards in some ways. When people believe that someone has done something wrong, they often complain very strongly about it. How should I explain this? Even at a restaurant, if an employee makes a customer feel slightly uncomfortable, or there is a small problem with the food, the customer may think, "Why should I have to experience this inconvenience? You are responsible for making me feel uncomfortable, so you are in the wrong." That kind of attitude is very common in Korea. So when people experience even a small inconvenience, they often demand compensation for it. In one sense, you could say that it is fair compensation and that they are simply exercising their rights. But sometimes it goes too far. Even when people experience only a small inconvenience, they may engage in what we call gabjil. Gabjil. This is a Korean word. In a relationship between a customer and an employee, the customer often has more power. The employee has to be very careful, while the customer may behave like a king. Because of this power imbalance, well, should I call it a power imbalance? Maybe one person has a higher position. Position might not be exactly the right word, but anyway, some people take advantage of that power. We call that gabjil. When two companies sign a contract, especially when one company hires another company as a subcontractor, we sometimes describe their relationship as a gabul gwangye. The person or company in the more advantageous position is called gab, and the person or company in the less advantageous position is called juyul. So that relationship is called a gabel gwangye. Gab is the person in the more powerful position, and Yul is the person in the weaker position. So Gabjil means using your more powerful or advantageous position to treat someone unfairly. To put it simply, it can be like a noble treating a commoner with contempt. The more powerful person may disrespect the other person and treat them as if they are not even a human being. Anyway, what was I talking about before I started talking about all of this? Right, I was talking about how the status and authority of school teachers have declined in Korea. In the past, the teacher probably would have been Gab and the parents would have been Yo, but these days the parents are often Gab Parents make complaints against teachers, and if teachers make a mistake, they may even be disciplined by the school. That is one of the problems we have today. Originally, I was going to talk about mathematics. Since I'm a math tutor, I was planning to talk about math. When I tell people from other countries that I'm a math tutor, they probably just think of me as a math tutor. But in Korea, we call someone like me a Gwawe Sonsengnim, or more specifically, a Suhag Gwawe Sonsengnim. A Gwawe Sonsengnim is basically a teacher. In some ways, that person can also be considered a susung, so it can feel somewhat similar to being a school teacher. From the traditional East Asian perspective, a school teacher was someone whom students could never treat casually. A teacher was almost like a highly respected elder. Anyway, I originally wanted to talk about mathematics, but I ended up talking about this instead. Still, I think what I just talked about was pretty interesting, so I'll end the video here.